Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting of the East Troy School District Board of Education and all other meetings of the board are open to the public in compliance with state statute. Notice of the meeting has been sent to the media and/or has been publicly posted in an attempt to make the citizens of the district aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have the minutes of the April 7th regular board meeting.
Second.
Any discussion or changes? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. And we have the reorganization of the East Troy Community School Board.
The first item on the reorganization is the recognition of School Board President, Mr. Ted Zess. So I'd like to present Mr. Zess with a plaque. Get it open. The plaque states, presented to Ted Zess for his 12 years of dedicated service to the East Troy Community School District from April of 2013 to April of 2025. I'm not just going to leave it at that. I'd like to make just a couple comments really quick. Yep, sorry.
And here goes the paper.
Obviously, as we just read, right, Ted has been on the school board and as president for 12 years. That's a lengthy time, as we know, to be on the school board, and a lot has happened in those 12 years if you think about it. This is completely off my script, so I shouldn't have done that. But if you think about that, I just want people to reflect on those 12 years, from 13 to 15 or 25, and think about everything that's transpired. I mean, I can talk about what's transpired in our school district in those 12 years, but I mean, we've had global changes that have occurred in that time that we hopefully will never have to experience again, that we had to operate and navigate through. And to give you an idea of who Ted is, and I remember this very vividly, when everything started shutting down, would be due to COVID, and our school district was having to make drastic, quick decisions for that spring. And then what we were going to do, even just that spring, more or less summer, and the next year and everything else, we were working, I remember supervisors, administrators were working diligently late at night over the district office, and it was maybe 12:30 at night for us just to get communication out about the next day and the next weeks to come. And there comes Ted walking over with a huge thing of wings from the East Troy Brewery. And he said he knew we had been working diligently through the night and everything else. And he's like, I think you guys need a break and some food. And he brings over all these wings. I mean, they were great, by the way. But my point is something that did not need to be done, right? And that a lot of people might not have even thought about doing. But he recognized that, and he recognized probably the stress, the tension, and just everything else that was occurring. And he found a way of like cutting through that stress and making everybody kind of relax for a while. And those were the things I think through Ted's leadership, he brought oftentimes through a lot of difficult situations, a way of looking at it maybe from that engineering mind, and cutting through and looking at it from more facts and what in that standard and kind of what is East Troy about, and then sticking to the standard, sticking to the facts, and navigating, helping us to navigate, and reminding us to go back to policy, which I think is a very important part as a board member. So I really appreciated that leadership. It's often stated that as a school board member, it is vital to keep the focus on students, obviously, and staff, the overall health of the organization from a financial standpoint to the overall achievement to programming being offered for kids and programming that meets the needs of the students today and tomorrow, not the programming that necessarily we had. And needless to say, if you think about it, all of those things and many more are very complex and do not always align well with each other. When you're trying to balance a budget and then offer everything that you believe all varying students need, and all students have different needs. And those are difficult tasks for all these board members to always have to balance. But Ted was always there through the 12 years trying to help us do that. As a board member, you often don't control events. I think all of them would attest to that, but they have to always control their response to the events. Often you cannot control what others might say, but you have to stay committed to the standards, the needs, the beliefs, and the purpose of our school district. As we know, complaining can be easy sometimes, but executing is very hard. And I just want to thank Ted for all of that. And I found a quote today from Martin Luther King Jr. He once made a comment about education, and he said, "Education is intelligence plus character." And I just want to say, Ted, you have both of those to a very high degree, so thank you very much.
I'll say my little speech first before we get into the rest of this. I am grateful to the community for allowing me to serve on this board for the last 12 years. I want to commend our incredible district leadership, Dr. Hibner and the entire administrative team. Your dedication, professionalism, and commitment to our students has been inspiring. Being a part of this district has shown me how deeply you care about every decision, every initiative, and every child in our community. Thank you for all that you do. To this board and all the board members I have worked with in the past, it has been a privilege to work alongside all of you in pursuing our district goals. To our teachers and staff across the district, the families, community members, your engagement and your support is the foundation of our success. Thank you for trusting us, challenging us, and partnering with us every step of the way. Though I may be stepping down from this role, I remain invested in the future of this district. I am available to assist with anything that I can, and I'm excited to watch it continue to prosper, guided by the same passion and leadership that has brought us this far. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. It has truly been an honor. All right, time to find our new officers. We need to swear in our new members. Steve Lamberex, our clerk, will do the official swearing in of Adam and Dale.
I, excuse me, I, Adam Wikowitz, having been elected or appointed to the office of East Troy School Board member, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Okay, we need nominations for president. Would anybody like to make a nomination?
Nominate Adam.
Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor of Adam being president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do you have any nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate Adam.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor of Anna as vice president, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Nominations for clerk.
I'll nominate Steve.
Do we have any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor of Steve as clerk, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any nominations for treasurer?
How was it last time? I didn't think of it. So, I'll do it for the rest. I'll nominate Kevin. Oh, Kevin. Okay.
Okay. Any other nominations?
No.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All in favor of Kevin as treasurer, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For these, we don't need nominations, but CISA representative? Have any volunteers?
I can take it.
Anna, as CISA representative, WASB delegate. Any volunteers for that? Steve? Okay. All in favor of Anna as CISA representative and Steve as WASB delegate, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have some committee appointments, usually 2 school board members on each of the committees. Student Learning Subcommittee. Any volunteers for that?
I'm happy to stay there.
Okay.
Stay on.
Okay. Anna and Adam. Facilities Subcommittee.
I'll go on that one.
Evan and Dale. All right. Salary Subcommittee.
I'll stay on that one too.
Steve and Adam. Benefits Subcommittee.
I can do it.
Anna and Steve. Negotiations representative. Really nothing there right now, but just in case it comes about again with a union. Okay. Adam. Anybody else? Steve. Do you need a vote on these, or is this? Okay. Yes. You got all those?
Dale and Kevin. Oh. Oh, by name. Oh, okay.
Dale's facilities, Anna, student learning subcommittee, CISA rep, benefits subcommittee,
Yep. Yep.
Steve, WASB rep, negotiations, and benefits subcommittee.
And salary.
Adam, student learning, negotiations, rep,
Salary.
and then Kevin, facilities subcommittee.
No.
Sayonara.
All right, we'll go to public participation. Does anybody like to speak?
I was asked to read something from the East Troy Knights. Dear East Troy School District, on behalf of the East Troy Knights baseball program, we would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the East Troy School District and especially to Brian O'Leary and Jake Hernandez for providing our teams with the opportunity to practice over the winter months. Thanks to your generosity, our 7 teams and over 75 athletes were able to utilize gym space at the high school, Prairie View, and Little Prairie. This access has been invaluable to our program, and it has not gone unnoticed by our coaches or athletes. Because of your support, our players are well prepared for the upcoming seasons. We truly appreciate your commitment to our program and the opportunities you've provided. Thank you once again to the school district and to Brian O'Leary and Jake Hernandez for making this possible. Sincerely, East Troy Knights Board.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the financial report.
I move the approval of March 2025 payments in the amount of $1,884,137.79 and receipts in the amount of $2,207,860.75 as reflected in the financial statements.
April's a big month for us in terms of financials. Amy, can you just walk through some of the high points for everybody's information? Key revenues, key expenses, just for a quick.
Sure. There were several key expenses this month. Main ones were equalization aid as well as our referendum funding. For equalization aid, we received 3 payments through the year, December, March, June. This year is a special year because, well, the equalization aid keeps decreasing each year due to many factors such as property values and adjustments. So this year we had to, generally in June, you take your open enrollment expenses as well as your expenses for charter schools and vouchers, and they're subtracted out of your equalization aid. This year that started in December. So once we get to June, everything will equal out. We're set to be on budget. However, right now we're trending high because we had expenses a little bit earlier taken out of that equalization aid. That is mostly due, since we have a special adjustment this year, due to many factors like increased shared costs and vouchers, etc. It's the expense side is just hitting a little bit earlier. So that's the main points of equalization aid. And then we also received the referendum, the $19.4 million in bond proceeds, which is currently invested through PMA Securities. They invest the funds in CDs and U.S. Treasuries, and they are bid out to local banks as well, and $6 million in CDs is with the local Citizens Bank. So the bond proceeds are invested until the payments need to be made for the capital projects to earn interest.
What kind of interest are you getting on those?
So right around, I believe, between 4 and 4.83%. It depends on the security and the time that they can be held. In March, we also received per pupil aid of $1,157,520. That is a one-time payment each year with categorical aid. We've received $742 per member. We also refinanced the 2015 bond issue. So we received a large payment of $12,525,000 in March. That was due to the refinancing of the 2015 debt. So the old issue was paid off. So we receive revenue from a new bond issue. The old issue is paid off. And then the new issue is the new debt for the refinancing. And with the refinancing, the district saved $546,706. So there's a lot of activity this month with equalization aid and the bond proceeds. For expenses, on the flip side of the refinancing, there's the expense. We received the revenue, then we had to pay off the 2015 issue, and the payoff was $13,745,000. That's a little bit higher than the proceeds we received. That's because we used some of the Fund 39 fund balance to pay off that total 2015 issue. As I mentioned with equalization aid, we had to book some open enrollment expenses, over $680,000 in March, as well as charter and voucher expenses. For voucher schools, the expense was over $111,000 So that is money that we receive actually on our revenue limit, but then it is expensed out. It's kind of it's just a through method. It comes through the school district and then is distributed to the private schools. And then again, overall, we're trending a little higher for expenses this year, but that's mostly due to the timing of the equalization aid adjustments. Each quarter, we also look closely at food service. And again, due to not as high of a free and reduced population as a lot of districts, so we don't receive as much federal aid, as well as the food costs keep increasing. So the revenues do not exceed expenses for food service. And so for this year, we had to, the fund balance has decreased $38,895 so far. And of course, we are looking to contact families to try to collect those negative food service balances according to the School Board Policy 761. We are also considering price increases for the school year 25-26. However, even with those actions, the expenses still exceed the revenues for Fund 50. And according to the budget model, starting in year 26-27, there will most likely be a transfer from our general fund to Fund 50, which is very common. Right now, 75 districts do transfer from our general fund to the Fund 50, and I expect that number will increase as we get further away from the COVID funding that provided a lot of free meals for all students. Are there any questions on the financial report?
Any other discussion?
No, I was just really happy to see the, I guess, opportunity to refinance that debt and save $500,000. That's, kind of an added benefit of the referendum succeeding this last time, which is a nice little extra bonus.
Mm-hmm. We had a second, right? All right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Now on to our discussion action items. First off, approval of donations.
So donations start on page 54 of the board packet. The first donation is from the Bingo Club. The Bingo Club donated $300 to the East Troy Community Schools Angel Fund. The next document under donations is an email we received from the East Troy Education Foundation. It was from Tricia Harris. Tricia works here in the health offices as a CNA. She is also the president of the East Troy Education Foundation. And I will read her email. The East Troy Education Foundation would like to share some of the donations we have awarded this 24-25 school year. To share at the next board meeting, the East Troy Education Foundation board members, Tricia Harris, president, Barb Jeffries, vice president, Katie Furley, secretary, Tracy Raymond, treasurer, Jennifer Markinkavik, media rep, Mark Wirtz, Sue Loth, and Barb Church. The East Troy Education Foundation was formed in 1990. The education is a public charity operated independently from the East Troy Community Schools and governed by the ETEF board. We donate funds to teachers and students that apply in grant form for educational purposes and opportunities. We would like to share some of the positive contributions made to date. Early Childhood Reading Nook, $620. Drama Club personal microphones, $1,485. Middle School Outsider Books, $448.50. High School Band Disney Performance to get their instruments on the airplane, $2,882. Little Prairie Special Education swimming equipment for weekly trips to the YMCA, $670. High School Hunch NASA presentations, $1,250. Our main source of donations come from our brick sales to honor or memorialize community members, staff, students, and retirees. And we would love to include retiring board members. All of these bricks are displayed and can be viewed outside the high school near the art sculpture. Please keep us in your thoughts. Thank you for your time. Tricia Harris.
Move the approval of donations as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, staffing retirements.
We do not have any.
All right. Staffing resignations.
We do not have any.
All right, good. Staffing recommendations.
I have two for you tonight. The first one is a special education teacher at our first grade level at Little Prairie Primary. This is due to a resignation. We actually received, you know what, I don't want to knock on wood, but our applicant pool so far this year has been
Don't
pretty
say it.
good. I
Sonia.
won't say it out loud, but you know, we did have 12 applications for this position. So for special education, that was pretty good for us. So we were able to hold 6 interviews. So tonight, Lindsay Harris and I would like to bring forth Nora, where's her name here?
Anderson.
Hey, thank you. Nora Anderson. Sorry, Nora. So Nora comes to us from Lake Geneva School District. Throughout the process, we had myself, Lindsay Harris, one of our first grade teachers, Tiffany Batani, one of our special education teachers, Michelle Gwinup and Allie Lewick, our physical therapists, participate in the interview process. Nora comes to us from UW Eau Claire in 2014 with a bachelor's in communication, earned her special ed teaching license in 2017, and then her master's degree from St. Mary's University. So like I said, she comes from Lake Geneva with 8 years of experience as a special ed teacher. Her references described her as phenomenal, superb, exceptional, and more than once we heard that she's the best special education teacher I've ever worked with. So not just a good teacher, but a good person, which makes those around her better. So we're really excited to welcome Nora to Little Prairie Primary as our first grade special education teacher. Do you want to make a motion for her first, and then I have one more, or do both?
We can do them both.
Do them both? Okay. The second one that I am bringing forward is for our district-wide occupational therapist. As a reminder, this comes as a result of the retirement from, I think it was December. And so we had 3 applicants for this position, 2 that we interviewed. So we are bringing forward tonight Jenny Woolridge. So Jenny comes to us as having more experience in the medical field, but she has some experience also, I think approximately 5 years in school-based occupational therapy. So she has her master's degree in OT. She also is nationally board certified, also has her pediatric functional vision rehabilitation specialist certification. She was indicated by her references to have strengths in collaboration, her ability to work well with others, and I heard a lot about her advocacy. So she's able to collaborate, but also really is strong in her ability to bring forward the knowledge and expertise in the area of occupational therapy that sometimes people just are confused about. So that was something that they really thought that she did really, really well in her ability to build relationships and rapport with students and families. So bringing forward 1.0 district-wide occupational therapist for Jennifer Woolridge.
Move the approval of hiring for the district-wide occupational therapist Jennifer Woolridge and special education teacher for first grade Nora Anderson.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of 2025-2026 teacher contracts.
This list starts on page 56. This is going to be a list of all of our staff currently active as going into the next school year. So we have a list here by building, assignments, their first and last names, their years of service at East Troy, as well as their FTE. If you go to the last page, it will note that we have 118 total staff members on this list that equate to 116 FTE. So we are looking for approval of all of these individuals for the 25-26 school year.
Move the approval of the 2025-2026 teacher contracts per the list. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. Recap of current health, dental, and vision benefits.
So we just wanted to let you know, so we had the approval of our health insurance at the 5% at a prior board meeting, but wanted to encompass that our dental and vision benefits actually have no rate changes for this upcoming year. So we just wanted to kind of let you know the three main benefits that our district offers as part of our employment benefit package, having the 5% with health and then no change to dental and vision.
Great, that's good news. All right, approval of Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative Agreement.
The Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative document. It's also known as WISNP Co-op. This is a co-op a lot of area school districts are a part of for their school nutrition programs to procure and secure food items and supplies. The cooperative will bid out and get better pricing and have those contracts with the food suppliers that the membership districts can purchase from. Among the documents that tell about the co-op, there's the cooperative agreement, the 66.0301. This is a cooperative agreement that's typical when districts share services, and we are asking that the board approve and then sign this agreement so we can be part of the co-op.
Make a motion to approve the Wisconsin School Nutrition Purchasing Cooperative.
Any discussion?
I'm just wondering why we haven't ever done this before.
There was a different co-op for several years. I believe this is the second or third year of this particular co-op. This is the first year they're asking us to approve and sign the cooperative services agreement. It's probably just to make it more formal and to make sure we have the correct procedures in place. It's also a very great resource for a food service director and our staff if there's ever any questions, or they can do comparatives on lunch costs, etc. So it's very typical that the district would be part of a co-op, and we have been in the past. I think this is just the first time that we're asking for the approval of the agreement.
And just to clarify my understanding, looking at this, we pay a minimal amount here, $300 per district. The co-op is primarily funded through administrative fees paid by the vendors who are selling the custom food.
No, it's just the fees that each district pays who's a member of it. They do list all the districts on page 65. So each district pays, for example, I don't know if they're all $300. Larger districts may pay more. I'm not sure how the fee structure works. But then it's mostly just managed by probably a committee member of food service directors and the districts that are part of it. And they prepare bids for, I would say, like Performance Food Service or other vendors to get the contracts to purchase food.
Any other discussion?
So they do competitive bidding, trying to reduce costs. Is that the purpose of this, or?
Yes, and yes, they bid out to try to get the most competitive prices. Also, it helps to have more districts a part of the co-op, so there's more purchasing power.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Health curriculum adoption for grades 6 through 9.
So these slides are printed in your packet starting on page 73, but I'm also going to present them on the screen. I think it's important to give a little history of how we got to where we are and what this is and what it means and kind of all the pieces that go into this. So a couple definitions to start. So when we talk about health science, this is an academic discipline. We have state standards from the state of Wisconsin, and it covers a wide variety of topics. I've listed a few of them. One of those topics is human growth and development. Human growth and development is a kind of subset of health. So when we talk about health, we're talking about the big broad picture, and human growth and development is the smaller subset that includes reproductive health, it includes puberty, body image, sexual health, hygiene, some of those maybe more personal topics. Within human growth and development, we have sex education. So when I was in school, the whole thing just got called sex education. It's a little different now. So when we talk about sex education, it is specifically focusing on education around reproduction, physical anatomy, and sexual health. So again, subset of human growth and development, which is a subset of health education. We are required by the state to provide education in areas of human growth and development. There are 2 state statutes that outline our requirements and also some recommendations for the instruction around these areas. So I've listed them here just for a reference. In those state statutes, we are required to provide both age-appropriate and medically accurate information. So this comes directly from State Statute 118.019 that talks about what that means, making sure that we're providing developmentally appropriate information to our students that is determined by the district, and also medically accurate information that comes from reliable sources. So last year, right around this time, the board approved of the recommendation from the Human Growth and Development Advisory Team that met last year. That was included community members, parents, students, school board members, staff, faculty, to give feedback about our current human growth and development programming. So last April, you approved the continuation of a comprehensive sex education programming. What that means is that as a part of our sex education programming, we teach both about reproduction and also about methods of contraception, emphasizing that abstinence is the only 100% effective way to prevent pregnancy and the transmission of STIs. So again, that was approved last year. That's a continuation of our programming. I'm just going to briefly review the scope and sequence of topics that we cover. So again, this is human growth and development. So it's kind of that specific subset. So you'll notice that at the elementary and primary levels, this is very much focused on emotional health, relationships, communication, the age-appropriate topics for students in those grades. So at Little Prairie and at Prairie View, this is presented through counseling lessons with our school counselors who will go and work with classes to present this information throughout the school year. More information about the timing of this can be found on our district website. We have a human growth and development webpage that includes the months, the topics covered, and our counselors have also put together questions that families can discuss at home relevant to these topics. So in the month of October, when we're discussing stress management, families can be asking questions to their children related to those same topics they're studying at school. Also at Prairie View in grades 3 through 5, there is some information presented about hygiene, menstruation, and some anatomy and puberty changes. So you'll see the outline of this information from 3rd grade to 4th grade to 5th grade. This was an adjustment made through the work of the Human Growth and Development Advisory Team last year to add more information. Through the feedback of that committee, they felt like starting in 3rd grade with some very basic information about hygiene and menstruation for girls was important. 4th grade includes a kind of condensed information about hygiene, menstruation, and puberty. At this time, classes do meet as a whole grade, but they are separated by gender. And then last year, another change that we started is we separate into 2 smaller groups. So then they're in 4 groups, again, still separated by gender, but that encourages students to ask more questions when it's a smaller group versus a larger group. And then in 5th grade with the same format, but a little bit more in-depth information. Again, all of this can be found in more detail on our website. There is no instruction about reproduction in these grades. 5th grade health also does deal with topics about alcohol, tobacco, and vaping and peer pressure, some of those age-appropriate topics as they get ready to go to middle school. Then in grades 6 through 8th, we have some health education that occurs during PE class. So providing health education is a state requirement for 6th grade. Through the work of the Human Growth and Development Team last year, they asked to include more instruction in grades 7 and 8, as those are really influential times in early adolescence. And so these are the topics specific to human growth and development that are covered in these grade levels. This instruction takes place during PE. It depends on the grade exactly how that works. In 6th and 8th grade, it's kind of sprinkled throughout the year, individual lessons here and there that kind of cover individual topics. 7th grade, because the topics are a little bit more in depth, they do take a few weeks where they cover health related topics during their PE class. So again, this occurs during PE, and at these grade levels, there is no instruction about reproduction. Then in 9th grade, we have a trimester-long health class. So all students, as required by the state, have to take a half credit of health. This includes bodily systems, it includes very specific terminology, including the reproductive system and the endocrine system, covers HIV, STIs, conception, control methods, ovulation and menstruation, hygiene, and also the impacts of sexual activity on other aspects of health, and then also alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So then 9th grade is where we really dig into the individual choices, the protective behaviors and risk behaviors, and all of that in that trimester-long health class. So through the work of the Human Growth and Development Team last year, we identified areas of need and changes. We brought those in April to be approved here. And in April approved, again, the comprehensive sex education programming, and then the recognition that we were going to need additional health resources in middle school and high school grades. So as a part of that team, we recognized our current resources were not going to be sufficient to achieve all of the goals and recommendations of the team. So that led to this year. During this school year, health teachers from the middle school and high school engaged in resource review and adoption. So this included reviewing the feedback from that team as well as our current resources. We looked at 3 separate resources and then selected 2 we felt were high quality. Then using those 2 resources, we solicited additional feedback. So we reached back out to the Human Growth and Development Review Team and asked for feedback on the resources and materials. We did have one member of the committee come to the meeting that we created for that feedback. We wanted more feedback than just one person, so we did reach out to some individual team members to provide feedback. So we reached out to 3 separate members of the review team and also spoke to a couple other faculty members who are also parents, just trying to spread a wide net. And then finally, we shared the resources with the Student Learning Committee last month, which included 2 board members and then 3 others who were present. So through that whole process, we solicited feedback, and we're coming with a recommendation of adopting the resources from Goodhart Wilcox. They go by GW. So you'll see on the screen, the purple book is the health skills for middle school, and it's labeled as essential. The reason that we're recommending the essential skills at middle school is because we do not instruct at middle school about reproduction or contraception. And we don't feel like it's productive to include that information in the book when we don't provide instruction on it. Then it's just there and maybe a little too easy to flip to in the back of the book and get distracted during a lesson by information that's not relevant to the lesson at hand. So at middle school, we're recommending the essential book. That book will be used in all 3 grade levels. It will be different chapters that are tackled at each grade level. So those will be assigned per grade level based on our scope and sequence. The comprehensive health skills for high school, which is the green book, is what we're recommending for adoption in the trimester-long health class. They would use the majority of the book, again, following the topics of our scope and sequence. Some of the feedback highlights that came from people as they viewed the materials was that this particular set of books had more engaging graphics, images, and even just colors, that there was more information specifically about vaping. They felt like that was an area of difference between the 2 books, that one just didn't have that information and one did, and we know from our data that that's something that is relevant to our students. Also, it contains case studies for student discussion. Our teachers referenced the benefit of having kind of real world, so somewhat situations for students to discuss. And then also it has online resources for the teachers. I want to highlight that. We are not adopting any online resources for students. So students will not have access to the online program, but our teachers will. We don't feel like it's productive for students to be on their Chromebooks during health class, and so we're choosing not to adopt the online resource for this program. Again, the comprehensive books contain information about reproduction and contraception, and the essential books do not. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Move the approval of the new health curriculum materials as Taylor reviewed so well.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we've got approval of Neola policies, the 1000s administration.
Yeah, so up to this point in time, we've approved the 000s, which were the bylaws, and now the 1000s, the administration, have gone through a first and second reading, so this is now in a discussion action item. The one that I do want to point out that Kevin inquired with and that we worked through, and that is within the 1400, 1400, 1400, which is titled job descriptions. Within that policy on job descriptions, about halfway down, if you'll recall, it talks about licensed staff members and support staff members, and that each job description shall contain the following provision. And the provision is on that the employee shall remain free of any alcohol or illegal substance in the workplace in compliance with policy 3122, which is on the licensed staff, and 4122, which is on the support staff policy. I would recommend, based upon Kevin pointing that out to me and looking at the 4122 and 3122 policy, those policies are strictly about drug-free workplace. So I don't believe it needs to be mentioned then in the job description itself, due to the fact we already will have policies that state clearly that it, for support staff and for licensed staff, that it is to be a drug-free workplace. So I think we could strike that at least from that job description component. Other than that, there hasn't been any other recommendations or anything else brought forward. And again, I just want to state this too, Dale being on the board now at this time, and that is, Dale, just so you're aware, like as these policies get approved, they're getting approved but tabled until all of the Neola policies, literally through the 9000s, have been approved, and then they'll all get activated at one time. So we will continue to use still the East Troy School District policies until all of these policies have been adopted at one time. And I just want to point that out too when I say we're still using the East Troy School District policies. These are going to be the East Troy School District policies. We're obviously working to personalize them with our language and other things, but obviously more consistency, and multiple legal firms having looked at Neola's policies, and the support and assistance will get through all of that.
So last time I was on school board, we talked some discussion about hiring some company for our policies. Is this the
Yes.
same company?
This is it. You bet.
I'll move the approval of Neola policies, the 1000s administration, with the change as outlined.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. More policy, we've got approval of policy 528, drug and alcohol policy for CDL holders.
Yes, this is the third reading of policy 528, drug and alcohol policy for CDL holders. And this was on per recommendation from the State Patrol when they visited the district in the fall to conduct an audit on our transportation department. Policy 528 is for CDL holders per their recommendation. It's very similar to the next policy. However, CDL drivers fall under a few more organizations that regulate transportation, such as the DOT and the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. But both policies, they just outline who the covered employees are, what's defined as controlled substances, when the drug and alcohol tests are administered, such as pre-employment and after a reportable accident. And it also outlines the consequences should a employee fail a drug or alcohol test as well. So that is policy 528. Are there any questions? And would you like me to go through the next policy, or would you like to approve 528 first?
Let's do 528 first. I'll move the approval of policy 528, drug and alcohol policy for CDL holders.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. 528.1, drug and alcohol policy for non-CDL holders.
Yes, policy 528.1 is very similar to the previous policy. However, the covered employees would be drivers who do not hold a commercial driver's license or CDL, so they would drive our vans or other district vehicles for transporting students from home to school or other school events. Again, it's defines all the controlled substances, the same as the policy 528. There are still drug and alcohol tests for pre-employment and after a reportable accident, as well as similar consequences. However, there does need to be two separate pools for our random testing per the State Patrol guidelines, as well as just the DOT guidelines, etc. So that's why previously we had one policy, 528, and now we are just, we have the two policies, one for the CDL drivers and this policy for non-CDL drivers.
I'll move the approval of policy 528.1, drug and alcohol policy for non-CDL holders as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Approval of policy 552, wages and insurance.
And again, this is the third reading that we are bringing to the board for approval, 552, wages and insurance. And the main edits are with the national board certification, where we are not increasing the stipend each year. It will be set at $4,802 going forward. There is also a few edits with the overtime to be similar to the guidelines with the Fair Labor Standards Act, where an employee works an actual 40 hours per week to qualify for overtime when they are above 40 hours. So therefore they could not have sick time and then work one day for 10 hours and receive overtime. Per the Fair Labor Standards Act, it's 40 hours actual worked. As we're working on implementing True Time, which is electronic timesheets available with our HR and finance software, we are also implementing the compensatory time off or comp time. So if an employee does have actual more than 40 hours worked, they will have the option. They could select either overtime pay or comp time pay. This is for select individuals, support staff, full year, full-time, 40 hours per week. They must be eligible for overtime, and it must be in a full-time position. And it has to be approved by administration as well. Of course, the needs of the district and the students still need to be met. I would ask the board to consider one more amendment to this policy. As you recall, at the last board meeting, the impact needs were approved. And in one of the impact needs was the training wage for support staff. Previously, support staff, when they would come for like beginning of the year training or some training that wasn't typically part of the school year, they were paid $11 an hour. That is in the policy on page 159, letter D at the very bottom. The last phrase says the rate will be $11 an hour. Since the board approved the impact need to be paid at the regular hourly rate, I would propose that an amendment be brought forward. So that last phrase after the parentheses, the rate will be $11 an hour, would be striked out and be replaced with will be paid at the support staff member's regular hourly rate.
The new hire occupational therapy negotiate national board certified is also
What does not regularly scheduled via calendars mean?
So most of our support staff members are annualized for their pay. So what that means is we have a calendar. It's in a calendar format. So we put all the days they work on this calendar. So, and then it adds up, like they work 6 hours this day, this day, this day through the whole school year. And we calculate their full salary for the year if they work all those hours that they're scheduled for. And then we take that yearly wage and divide it by 24 paychecks. So it's an annualized way of calculating pay, and they receive what we call their calendar that kind of outlines for them all their scheduled hours for the year and what that will equate to in total pay.
So what's the impact to the district on this? Is it big impact, more, is it less, or what's the impact?
I don't have that information right in front of me. It was in the packet of impact needs that was brought forward. It sounds familiar.
I mean, that's subjective, but
That was one of the impacts that we brought forth.
Okay.
So Amy's recommended rate for language is actually the language you guys
Yeah.
have done. It's up to the board.
It's about
I'm just
15,000.
curious,
No,
yeah.
no, that's okay.
Yeah, $15,471. Oh, you're really good. That was really good. I was going to add too, Anna. So most of our support staff are on a calendar. So it's primarily most of our support staff in like food service, paraprofessionals, special education paraprofessionals, custodians, administrative assistants. So most of our hourly staff are on those calendars.
I think I was just hung up on or confused by like if their work time is pre-scheduled. I guess I don't know why we have to call this out as like now we're also going to pay you your normal rate. So I'm assuming there's a reason why we have to call out like your calendar time versus an extra meeting that wasn't calendared. I guess I just didn't really understand what that means.
Yeah, I think typically when the school year starts, they use that calendar kind of pre-plan like vacations, on days,
Sure.
off days. So we kind of use that as like a base for their employment, and then anything above and beyond is like additional, which is like the meeting. So we try to, I guess, differentiate between the two because often it is strictly on that calendar in terms of their employment.
And either way, they're getting their regular
Now going forward,
rate.
yes.
So I guess that's why I was confused why we even have to like separate it out because it's all the same rate now. Before, right? I'm kind of questioning why the whole second sentence is even needed, unless you get to overtime, I guess, or something.
What we do,
I
the
don't mean to
teachers,
overcomplicate
I guess the sentences before that kind of outline it for teachers, so I think it does provide clarity that the support staff receive their regular wage and versus teachers who receive the curriculum wage. And I think it's good to have it in there too because they receive their calendar, like you're set to work as a paraprofessional these hours, and you know that's your wage for the year. However, there are times where there's extra duties or trainings that are needed, and it may not be part of their regular, so to say, calendar. So it's just good to have it in policy that yes, this may be part of your job, and you will be paid for it. Because that's usually the first question if you ask them to attend extra meetings or trainings. Is it paid? Is it volunteer?
Okay. So the last sentence will read pre-approved extra duties with pay not regularly scheduled via calendars, including but not limited to testing, prep time, special meetings, special trainings, meetings, cleaning, etc., will be paid at the employee's regular hourly rate.
Yeah, support staff. Is it?
We may want to say the support staff members' regular hourly rate, because there is a difference between the teachers attending meetings and trainings and support staff.
I'll move the approval of policy 552, wages and insurance, with the amendment as presented.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is overnight field trip requests.
Good evening. In your packet, you should have the overnight field trip request from Michael Trader for a choir trip to to New York. It's been a while since we have had a choir trip with COVID and then our changeover in staff. So Michael and the choir and music department is very excited about the proposal of this trip. So you can see that it's for next spring break, so next year. at the end of March. They'll go to New York City, participate in Broadway, Imagine vocal workshop, perform at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, watching Broadway shows, etc. Really having the kids have a immersive choir experience while out in New York. So there are the proposal, and then there's an itinerary from the travel department. All of this is tentative right now. Once we have your approval, then they'll go to the parents and get the students. We can always come back with a more formal and finalized plan with numbers and things, but this is to get everybody started.
So I see on the emergency plan completed, it's marked no at this time, just at this time.
At this
So
time,
that would be
yes.
something that would get completed if the board would approve it.
Correct. Yeah, it's one of those tentative
Yep.
items.
All
Good
right.
point.
I don't see a problem with this at all. Yeah. So, I make a motion that we approve, Bob Rogers' travel.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Does anybody know what the difference is? I have 2 sets of the itinerary and I didn't like scrub it to try to figure out if it's just in here twice inadvertently or if there's some difference, but.
I would say inadvertently. I mean, I'm looking them up on my phone right now, but yeah, it looks, yeah.
Okay,
think
I
we
was
just
trying to do a
attached
quick
it
compare
twice.
and I'm
Sorry
like,
about that.
I don't know what the difference is. Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we've got discussion and approval of bids of referendum project related to middle school site work for traffic patterns. That goes to executive session.
Yes.
Employee leave of absence request, also an executive session. Update on professional staff employment pertaining to extracurricular activities, also an executive session.
Yes.
All right, now on to administrative reports. Chris?
Yeah, I only have one. It's stated on the agenda, the review of Wisconsin voters referenda in 2024 and 25 for April of 25. Really quick, I put it in the packet, but I just wanted to point out a few things to everybody else's awareness. And that is Wisconsin voters, this comes from Wisconsin Policy Forum. I guess let me first state that. So it's a nonpartisan forum, obviously. And they look at things a ton from municipalities and educational perspectives. So one of the things recently they had looked at was Wisconsin sets more referenda records to fund schools. Some of the points that they made in there was Wisconsin voters approved a record number of referenda in 2024. But one of the things also that they pointed out was, however, the approval rate for school ballot questions continued a downward trend. The statewide total this past year was 240 school referenda held, with 138 happening in the fall elections, the August primary and November general, and 103 in the spring, the February primary and the April general. This represented the most school referenda ever in a single year, narrowly surpassing the previous record of 240 in 1998. Unofficial election results indicate that voters approved 169 of these ballot questions in 2024, which was also a record, topping the previous high of 140 in 2018. These results translate to a school referendum passage rate for the fall, or for all of 2024, of 70.1%. While voters approved the large majority of referenda, it marks a 10 percentage point decline from 2022 and was the lowest passage rate in a midterm or presidential election since the year of 2014. A couple other things that I just wanted to point out within their, the Wisconsin policy on this topic. The total number of operating referenda held in 2024 was the most on record, 148, and voters passed the most ever operating referenda as well, 98. Why are more K-12 referenda being held but at lower approval rates? The rate of inflation has exceeded increases in the state per pupil revenue limits, which we've talked about diligently around here, I believe, which restrict the total amount of money that districts can receive from property taxes and state aid. Obviously, our two largest sources of funding. Inflation in a tight labor market has fueled mounting competition for teaching talent. So obviously, us competing with other school districts, and I would even say other workforces, not just school districts any longer, for quality personnel. And the loss of federal pandemic relief aid, which I think a lot of people forget about, which I think we did an extremely good job in our district of using the pandemic relief towards non-cliff items. I'm not insulting districts who used it towards cliff items. They maybe had no other choice. But I think the ones that used it towards cliff items have experienced some very difficult decisions in regards to how to maintain those expenses / needs, especially if not getting an operational referendum approved. But another component, again, within this subscription of Wisconsin policy is even as districts increasingly rely upon referenda as a potential source of revenue, however, approval rates from voters have started to decline. I think I won't go on to the rest. It's very intriguing due to the fact that I don't think it's anything astonishing or new that obviously school referendums on the capital and the operational are exceeding past highest marks. However, I don't think we're also shocked that there's a slight decline now occurring. As we said, there's, I think, referendum fatigue in a lot of communities. But I do hope that people are contacting their local assembly, Senate, the governor, with the budget coming up and discussing the need for more revenue limit per pupil increases and to at least match inflation, I'll say that again, and an increase in special education aid, and not by a 0.5 or a 1.0, but significant increase, which would also really help school districts on the revenue side towards meeting those needs on the special educational side, and not then utilizing general funds toward doing so. So I think if those two things could greatly be met, then school districts would have more opportunity to consider whether or not what they need to do when it comes to operational referendums in the future. That's it.
Thank you. Business manager report, nothing. Director of Teaching and Continuous Improvement of Student Learning, nothing today. Director of People Services, nothing today. School Board President report, nothing today. We've got a few policy review and development items. First is the second reading of policy 345.1, rule high school grading system.
So I'll just quickly review the changes to this policy. So there are two primary changes. The first is the addition of a weighted GPA to student transcripts, which is solely for the purpose of the Wisconsin Guaranteed Admission Program. So this is a program that was created by state statute that students in the top 5% of their class at the end of their junior year, based on GPA, will be guaranteed admission to all UW system schools, and students in the top 10% of their class are guaranteed admission to all UW system schools except for the University of Madison. So the weighted GPA allows us to use that number in determining the top 5 and top 10%. This is going to then be reported on their transcript, and the weighting will be associated with our Law Day system. So all classes that earn Law Day credit will also be weighted and calculated into the weighted GPA. The second change is the removal of information about the Academic Excellence Scholarship and the Wisconsin Technical Excellence Scholarship. And the reason for that is we have a separate policy on both of those scholarships. So rather than have them printed twice and have that redundancy, we are looking to remove those.
Taylor, so when we approve this, I can't remember, does it start immediately?
Yes, so this would start immediately and would apply to the current junior class.
And do we retroactively weight the classes that they already took
Yes.
to recalculate their rank?
Yes.
For everybody, really?
Yes, I mean, it would, it only really matters for the current junior class and then sophomores, right? Like going backwards. It would not matter for the current seniors or any of our graduated classes.
No, right. I meant down, I guess,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I don't know how many sophomores have already taken a Laude class or something, but
A good number.
you would need them all to be
Yeah.
rerun, basically re-weighted, right?
So that Skyward could run the calculation.
Okay.
Any other questions on that one? Second reading of policy 345.7, graduation.
So this is another update due to a change in state statute. So we are now required to have students take a 0.5 credit of personal finance, which includes a variety of topics related to that. We have typically had the majority, almost 75% of our students graduate taking this class, but starting with the current freshman class, all students will have to take this class in order to graduate. So the addition of that to our graduation requirements then does change some of the things around the required credits for electives in order to reach the 24.5, and then we're also updating a few wording things related to trimesters.
Any questions on that one?
I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Thank
Long
you.
overdue, actually.
All right, we've got a first reading of Neola Policies 2000s programming. Okay. Thank you. Table that. Communications and announcements. I don't have anything on here. Any future items for the board?
Yeah, I want to talk about actually, I'd like to talk about a couple things. Prior to joining the school board this time, we had a community meet and greet. Adam, myself, and Anna were there, and had an opportunity to talk with some of the parents that have children in the district here. And the main topic of more than one of them was the performance of the middle school. I don't have the answer to any of this. And my promise was that I would bring it up the first board meeting I was in. And I don't have a solution to if there even is a problem, and I don't have any of the information to make an educated statement other than that it's a concern of some of the parents. And more than one, and this particular parent took their child out of the middle school and put them in a private school, which kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because I always hate to see, the kids leave the school district. So it may be something that we need to have a discussion about. I don't know how to move forward, or what a plan would be, or even if we have a problem or if we don't have a problem. But we do have some concerned parents, that much I can tell you. Otherwise they wouldn't be coming to me, or to Adam, or to Anna. All three of us were there.
So, middle school action plan progress report. There was, I think it was all the way back in 21 now, there was corrective actions put into place. Maybe we can have an update on how those items are going, and if anything new has come up in the interim, adding to that plan, something like that. All right, thank you. Any other new items?
I just want to go over what Dr. Hibner had to say at the beginning of the meeting about all the things that are going on at the district as far as financial, academic, staff, buildings, and all that, all those balls in the air, and to balance everything out is, it is difficult. Nobody will deny the difficult part of all that. But hopefully we can come to a system that, you know, has very good meshing and gears together that performs well. And I think we need to, you know, move forward with that, you know, as a kind of as a team, maybe set some goals for ourselves and kind of see where we're at on certain things, and some brainstorming to make the district a little bit better, and so that at the end of the day that we keep the students we have, attract more students, and just become a top-notch school. I think that's the goal that we need to work forward to. That's it.
All right. Anyone else? Future items? All right, make a motion to adjourn to executive session for a discussion of bids, phase 1 of referendum project related to middle school site work for traffic patterns, employee leave of absence request, and update on professional staff employment pertaining to extracurricular activities as provided under state statute 19.851B, 19.851C, and 19.851E, and 19.851F.
I'll second.
Roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We're in executive session.